Hi, this is Amy Ritterbush, and I wanted to give you the select board actions taken for our February 28th, 2023 meeting. This was a very long meeting, so you may not want to watch the whole thing, but feel free if you want. The whole thing is on HCAM. We had no one speak at our regular public forum. But we did have a moment of silence for the young man who passed away this week from Hopkinton. We just learned that news that evening, so it was very sad for Daniel's family. We're so sorry about that. It's a loss for the community. Next, we reviewed the Elementary School Building Committee 2, Elmwood School Preferred Replacement Option. And this committee has, as you may know, has been meeting for many months, having a lot of public forums and televised events and in-person events to get feedback. And what they've selected with the school committee picked a grade configuration of grades 2 to 5, so we can get funding for a larger grade span. And this will help. We're really tight on space in all the schools, so this will really help us meet that need a little bit better by having 3 grades in the one building. And they chose the Hayden Row Village East option. So this would be on Hayden Row Street, a little bit further south of Marathon School. So it could have shared drop off between the new Elmwood and the Marathon School. And they're doing the best they can to get the cars to queue off the street to not mess up traffic too much. And the other option, see the traffic. So this will keep a lot more buses off of Main Street and the main intersection downtown, because they'll be focused on Hayden Row, not going back and forth through the center of town as much. And it is a very expensive option. I'm just going to be upfront. The inflation is, ridiculous, and the building costs have skyrocketed. But we will do what we can to spread that cost out over time. But be aware that it is more expensive than Marathon School was. But the committee really did their due diligence to look for options that, the best option financially in the long run. Next, we reviewed the town's FY22 audit report. We had an independent auditor review all our finances, and it's a 60-page report, and he gave us a summary at the meeting, and it's all in the packet if you would like to read through it. Next, we had a public information section on general bylaw amendments. There were 5 of them, and let's see, the first was a housekeeping amendment to delete the term Board of Selectmen, since we now define that as Select Board. There were no comments on that one. Next is a minutes bylaw amendment, and this is just the state has given us clarification that minutes from boards and committees should be posted within 30 days or at the next committee meeting, whichever comes later. We had previously said 40 days, so now it'll be 30 days. Next, and there are no public comments on that one. Next, there was a leash law bylaw amendment. Currently, our leash law only goes from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Otherwise, dogs are not required to be leashed. So this would just make it a 24-hour law. But there are exceptions for hunting dogs, guide dogs, police, law enforcement dogs. So it would just change the time of day. And there were no comments on that one. And then we had a short-term rental bylaw, and we did have several comments from members of the public on that who are all in favor of this bylaw. This is short-term leases like Airbnb. It would require, if someone's doing that for more than 2 days. So a short-term lease would be more than 2 days, but less than 30 days, and they would need to get a license from town hall for that and follow some set procedures and guidelines. And there's been an incident on at least one street in Hopkinton where it's been a real problem with trash not being picked up, and anyway, so they felt this street, a lot of the neighbors in that area really felt that would be an appropriate change, but not too burdensome on the person who was doing the renting. Okay, and then next there was the gun club indoor shooting bylaw, which was a citizens petition. And there were lots of comments about that, including from the Hopkinton Sportsman Association and the Woodville Ride and Gun Club. So the resident who submitted it, he spoke up about it, and then the gun clubs also spoke up, and other residents. So the people spoke on both sides of this bylaw. The bylaw proposes to make gun clubs only shoot indoors in Hopkinton instead of outdoors because of the noise pollution. But it appeared, and we're looking to get guidance from town's council, that all the gun clubs in Hopkinton have been around for so long that they are grandfathered into current zoning and noise pollution, or the noise pollution laws and zoning laws that were in effect at the time that they were established. So it seems like this would not really affect the current gun clubs, only if there were any new gun clubs that came about going forward. So we will see how that goes. And citizens always have a right to submit a petition. That's their right, and we discuss it and we'll vote on it at a town meeting. Next, we had a public hearing on the FY24 comprehensive budget, and no members of the public spoke about this. So there were many people that were there about the general bylaws, but not about the budget. And the select board, the town manager had asked us to weigh in on a few questions. One was that several departments are over budget, including the schools, and how should we move forward? And the select board's consensus was to try to, they're 8% over budget, and we were hoping to get back down to the, they had an 8% increase from this year to next year. And so we would want them to get down ideally to 5 to 6% difference from last year to this year. And there are other town departments that also went over budget, so the same would apply to them. Let's see. And then next, the town manager wondered what we would do about reducing contributions to the OPEB account. It's other post-employment benefits. And let's see, stabilization balances. We always contribute to the stabilization fund every year unless it's a really tough year. And so the general feeling was, I didn't personally agree, but that we should continue increasing the OPEB funding and continue to raise stabilization balances, even though it's a tough year. And then, let's see, there was payment, and do we agree on the principle of the payment of all recurring expenses in the budget with recurring revenue sources? And I think we all did agree that that was important, that we shouldn't be paying for recurring expenses with one-time funds, because then we're just in trouble again next year. We discussed if we wanted to have any additional public engagement and public outreach, and the consensus was yes, but we're really struggling with how to do that because we've had listening sessions where no one has attended, and no one even attended the budget hearing. So that would be good. People can write to us too if they're not able to attend in person. Let's see, then it was about capital requests that can only be achieved with a Prop 2.5 override, and there's I think 5 of those on the warrant this year, and how do we feel about those? And I think we generally felt that there's possibility to get federal funds for sidewalks, so that might be able to be moved out of the debt exclusion and get paid for by a grant. And then I think the other ones we felt comfortable with. Let's see. And then we did not delve into this too much, except that there's a bow wave of capital projects coming in future years, not just the Elmwood project, but several others. I think we all expressed there's concern over that, and that we need to maybe space these out a little bit more so it's not too much of a tax impact so soon, but maybe some of them can be extended a little further, not happen at the same time as the Elmwood project is coming on. Because all these big projects, it's the most expensive when you first begin, and then it does, the amount reduces per year going forward. Okay, that is the budget, which I know is boring. Okay, next, the Boston Marathon. We approved a parade permit for the Boston Marathon for April 17th, 2023, Patriots Day. They showed us they have a little bit different layout for the start this year, and the layouts are in our meeting packet if you want to take a look about where the different groups of runners will be on the common, where the vendors will be. And they had some new bleachers this year that are more ADA accessible, so that all sounds great. Next, we invited the town of Ashland to come to an event in Hopkinton, which would be marking the 100th anniversary of the last time the marathon started in Ashland, which was in, I guess it was 1923. Anyway, so we'll have a joint event at the Hopkinton Center for the Arts with Ashland, and so we're looking forward to that. Next, we had the consent agenda, which was approving the minutes from the February 7th and 14th meetings, accepting a gift from the ambulance fund from Karen Woodbury in memory of Julia Harris. That was very nice of her. And then we reappointed Christine Enos to the Cultural Council to a term ending March 10th, 2026. And we approved a marathon fund request, several of them. $2,600 to the class of 2023 to be used for a DJ at the Gillette Stadium event for the seniors, as well as police detail for the car parade. $2,000 to the senior center to pay for exercise classes. $1,500 to the Hopkins Police Association to stock the pond at the Hopkins Sportsman Association for the annual fishing derby in May. And then the town manager gave a report on the shared housing services in our municipal agreement. We've talked about this a while ago, but we're going to try to have a shared housing officer to help us manage our affordable housing and get going with. We have a large fund in our affordable housing fund, trust fund, and we want to go forward with that, like using that money to either improve the affordable housing we have or build more. And but we don't really need a full-time person for that, so it'll be shared with other towns. Mainstream project, not too much of an update right now. The PFAS treatment project that has gone out to bid. That's the filtration system. So that's great. Hopefully the bids will be due sometime in March, and hopefully it can begin construction pretty soon after that. And then we reviewed the MDRA Southborough Interconnection Project, and we would have to have an intermunicipal agreement for that as well. And Southborough will be going to town meeting this month to vote on that. We need their approval. So that's all in the packet if you'd like to read it. Okay, so for liaison reports, I noted that the MIPC winter meeting was coming up. I was planning to attend. Also, it's Sunshine Week, which is Government Transparency Week. And in honor of that, there's a couple of workshops coming up that I'm going to attend. One is using social media as an elected or appointed official in the correct way, so you're not violating anybody's freedom of speech or their civil rights or public records law. So that sounds great. Also, let's see. Oh, I'm attending a workshop on making meetings ADA accessible, and Aline Lazarus, the assistant town manager, is going to do that too, so we can make sure we make town meeting as accessible as possible. All right, and then it was noted that the planning board is having their public hearing on zoning bylaw changes, which will be on March 6th, I believe, at 7 p.m. So Monday, March 6th at 7 p.m. Okay, and I think that was it. It was a very long meeting. Thank you.